Here we are at Terry's house, and I wanted to show you his great vinyl record cleaner. So it's a pretty ingenious system he's got going here. He incorporated some parts he bought from Amazon.com and some tools from his garage and I guess his sporting bag. And Terry's going to explain all about the components of it, and we'll take it piece by piece and see what it's all about. So Terry, tell us about the GT Sonic.
Okay, the GT Sonic is an ultrasonic cleaner. It uses water and produces bubbles, microscopic bubbles that attach themselves to whatever you're cleaning, and the bubbles actually explode to blast off particles of the objects that are in the tank. The solution that's in the tank, I'm using 1 gallon of distilled water, 250 milliliters of isopropyl alcohol, a teaspoon of Kodak Photo Flow, and 5 drops of dish soap. The Photo Flow is there to break down the surface tension of the water and helps the water get to the bottom of the grooves.
Okay, Terry, I noticed on the front there's a couple knobs of what they do. So this knob is the what knob?
That's the heater.
That's the heater, so you can go from 20
Celsius
to 80 Celsius
to 80 Celsius, yes.
And then this knob is just a timer?
That's just a timer, yeah.
It's a timer knob. And then there's 2 lights indicating it's on?
Exactly. I have mine set at 30 degrees Celsius. I found that any warmer than that, the records would actually warp in the cleaning solution.
So you keep your fluid about 30 degrees Celsius to clean. About how long do you use the timer to clean your records?
With the ultrasonic cleaner, I use the timer at about 3 minutes. That'll give the records time to go through the water a full 2 revolutions.
Okay, so about 3 minutes to do 2 revolutions through the fluid while the ultrasonic is blasting the dirt off it. Okay, great. Okay, Terry, I noticed that you put on an electric motor on the back of it, along with some sort of power supply. You could describe that a bit and what it does.
Okay, I had to go to Amazon.ca and find the slowest turning motor that I could, so that it would keep the records in the bath long enough for them to be cleaned through 1 revolution. The closest I could find was a motor that's 24 volt DC gear drive motor that turns at 1.2 RPMs.
So Terry, I see that you have a special power supply for it.
Yes, that's a universal AC adapter for laptop power. That's the only one that I could find on Amazon.ca that would power the DC motor at 24 volts DC.
I see you have it wired up to an on-off switch, so you can turn the motor on and off.
Yes, it's just a simple on and off switch from Canadian Tire, only a couple of bucks.
Okay, Terry, I noticed beside the ultrasonic cleaner you have a stack of pucks. You have a nut with a lock screw on it. You have a bucket. And you have a rod with a disc and another nut. And that obviously slides on there. And it sits in a cradle in the bucket. And that's all part of the cleaning process. Maybe you could just describe how that process works, and then we'll take a look after with the record.
Okay, the bucket is just a ordinary plastic waste paper bucket. I've attached some wooden pieces onto the bucket just as guides. The rod is a rod from a spade bit. The spade would be up here. I cut that off. It just happened to be exactly the right size for the hole in the middle of the record. I cut some discs out to use as spacers. The first disc would go on here, then you'd put a record, and then I used hockey pucks as spacers to keep the records an inch apart from each other. you would slide one on, then another record, then another hockey puck, then a record, then another, a record, and finally the last spacer. And you'd hold them all tight together with this locking nut. And that would be your stack.
So once you have that assembled with the records in it, then it would actually go into the ultrasonic cleaner, right? With the records on it?
Exactly. Just take the top off. You can see the solution inside. It's right up to the full line. Now you notice that this end has got 6 sides on it, and that fits into a 732 socket that I have epoxied onto the end of the motor. It'll sit in there, you push it into the socket, and you're ready to go.
Okay, so we got all the components. We got 3 records we're going to try cleaning. We got all the components Terry's got, and Terry's going to put it all together, and we'll take a look at it going through the ultrasonic cleaner, and we'll give them a spin dry, and we'll check them out when they're clean and see how it all worked out. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, we're going to load up the records now. The first one on, spacer. Second one on, another spacer. The third record. And we could put a spacer and another record, but we're only going to do 3 this time, but this unit will be able to do 4. I'm going to put the locking nut on. Tighten it up good and snug. Then I'm going to put them in the bath. You'll notice that the records don't hit the label at all. They're submerged enough that all the record is in and the labels are out of the water. Okay, now we're going to turn it on. We're going to turn it on to at least 5 minutes. You can use an egg timer to get an exact time for 3 minutes, but it's not really necessary. We're going to turn the motor on now, and you can see the records start to spin.
So you said it'll take about 3 minutes to do the 3 records?
I put it in for 3 minutes so that the records have a chance to go around 2 full revolutions.
So it's been about 3 minutes, Terry, and that's going to be it for the clean.
Yeah, that should be quite enough time to get those records clean. I'm just going to shut it off manually. Turn off the motor, and we're done.
And as we can see, that the fluid, because it turns slowly through the fluid doesn't drip down and go into the labels. Okay, what's the next step, Terry?
The next step we're going to do is we're going to do a spin dry. Now this is not really necessary. You can prop them up on a dryer and let them air dry if you've got the time. But for demonstration's sake and the sake of saving some time, if you've got a lot of records to do, I'm going to spin most of the water off of these records. So I'm going to drop the rod onto the guides. Now I'm going to take a variable speed drill with the same socket on it that the motor has, which is a 732, and I'm going to spin these records to take almost 90% of the water off. This is just a guard that I made. I'm going to put it on, and this will keep the water from splashing all over the room.
Okay, so you attach your drill to the shaft and then give it a spin?
Yeah, we're going to start it up. We're going to start it up and slow and just keep on going until we're at full speed.
That certainly looks effective.
90% of the water is gone now.
Yeah, it looks really good. Try that close up there. And record's looking pretty shiny. And almost completely dry. And once you're done that, you dry it manually too?
Yes, I do.
So once you're spin dry your records, then you have a way to manual clean it. Can you describe that, manually dry it? Can you describe that a little bit, Terry?
Sure. What I have here is I've made a little platform of 3/4 inch MDF with a few legs, and I've got one of those sham cleaners.
ShamWow?
A ShamWow.
Holy
I didn't know
geez.
if we could advertise or not, but I put one of those ShamWows down to catch some of the water. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull one of these records off.
Place those back. Just to hold
Place
them.
those back. Take the record that I've just finished spinning, and what I have here is a microfiber cloth, and what I'm going to do is just give it a quick wipe. And that'll take off the rest of the water. So right now it's perfectly clean right to the bottom of the grooves, and it should play great.
Looks good, Terry. Thanks a lot. So, Terry, now that we've cleaned a bunch of records and you've had them go through the fluid and might have had dozens of records go through, I'm sure lots of dirt gets in the fluid. So maybe describe on how you maintain a clean fluid and make sure your records go through a clean solution.
Okay. Well, what I do is after maybe 24 records, you'll find that there's so much gunk on the bottom of your tank that you just got to clean it out. And what I have found, the best way to do that is I got a stainless steel bucket, And I've got a sieve from the grocery store, a couple of big coffee filters, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty the tank right here through the and put all the water through the coffee filters and reuse the water. There's no point to throwing all that water out when it can be just reused. After the water is emptied from the tank, I'll go into the tank with a paper towel, wipe all the black gunk out, and refill it with the water from the bucket.
So I see right now the water doesn't look very clear. Is that after a few cleanings, or is that the water will come out cleaner once you clean it, or is that kind of how it's going to look from now on?
The water will have a slight yellowish tinge to it. I think that's because of the photo flow and the alcohol that's in it. But you'll notice that you'll get a scum on the top of the water and a lot of black little nodules in the bottom of the tank where the dirt has been collecting.
Okay, Tarek, well that's quite the system you got there, and certainly looks like it does a great job of cleaning up vinyl records, and I'm going to get you to clean one of my records, and I'm going to test it at home, and we'll see how all that goes. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.